Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's episode, I'm going to be discussing, giving my opinion on, reflecting, if you will, on for sure the most abstract and advanced topic that I've yet spoken about. Uh, it's something that I was very interested in, especially a few years ago, and it put a lot of time and effort, I think, into coming to some understanding of this or some grip of it for myself. And I just want to share that so that it can maybe be understood by someone else, further grasp some of this topic. I don't know, like, what else I'm going to go into this type of thing in the near future anyway in my life. It's not something that I'm particularly working on like right now a lot, but who knows? Maybe in the future I will have more experiences like this. But anyway, basically the topic is, as coined by the late great Terence McKenna, who, I've definitely taken a lot of lessons from his teachings, from all his YouTube clips that he has on there from like the 90s or 80s, whenever he was really doing his lectures. I'm just going to say it. It's crazy. It's outrageous. But it's real. It's a real thing, as far as I can see. Self-transforming machine elves, right? Like, it's an accurate explanation. It's an accurate portrayal of something. Terence McKenna, I guess he's classified as a ethnobotanist. I think that's how he describes himself. But he was awesome, like, psychedelic explorer, and I found out about him obviously through Rogan's podcast, and his brother Dennis McKenna, who's been on London Real, Rogan's podcast, a few others, and this concept, self-transforming machine elves. Even when I first heard some of those Terence McKenna videos on YouTube with the like chill step music in the background, I was like, knew that there was something to it. Like, this was his way of making sense of a certain aspect of reality and of the psychedelic experience. So I'm going to tell you kind of what I think about it, like how I guess make sense of it to some degree. So what I would say is that this whole topic's insane, but I want to talk about it because it's hilarious at the same time. And I'm trying to say all this from like a rational, reasonable point of view, to try to describe and explain something that is absolutely fucking out of this world, that is in a way irrational. Okay? So, from what I can see, after several years of studying, I would say, researching, reading books, podcasts, like lectures, YouTube, like learning, thinking, experiencing, and, from what I can see, Terence was trying to make sense of the mechanisms, I guess, of sort of change or language almost that you tune into and you become receptive to in a very, very heightened, usually plant medicine, psychedelic medicine induced, although I guess it's possible to come to that experience via other directions like deep meditation, dance, and whatnot. But for now anyway, we'll just talk about like basically just like direct, like you just take the plants, a little while later you hit this experience. And I think what he was trying to describe was the actual like feelings that these actual, as he calls them, machines. And a lot of this that I'm talking about is from, for me, a few years ago. Like, I don't really think about this that much anymore. Like, it's not something that I'm directly focused on in this, like, my current life. Like, I'm more interested in other things, like success in this, like, physical world in, like, particular ways, like financial relationships, like learning, like that's right now what I'm into. But I'll still want to talk about this because it's something that I was very, very, like, passionate and concerned about, because I needed to find a way to make sense of this deeper underlying mechanisms of reality. It was like necessary for me. So I want to share it now, because who knows, maybe as time goes on, I might move farther away from this and into the more like practicalities of different aspects of my life. Who knows? Again, I'll probably want to come back to this at some point in my life, but I just want to chuck it down for now, because even on this YouTube channel, I will probably move into other things. So for now, I'll talk about it. So I see it, and I did, and I'm also like using my memory to remember how I really thought about this as well. It's almost like a language, I think. There does seem to be a ability for the human being, the primate monkey human being, to take these substances and gain access to this type of language, or a technology almost. That word there is ringing some bells. I remember that I used to think of it like, this is a fucking technology, man. Language, technology, those two together seem to be this mechanism, this machine, right? And the key is, as he put in front of that, this is why it's fucked, self-transforming, right? Self-transforming of itself. It replenishes of itself somehow, right? The very nature, the very fabric of our universe seems to be self-replenishing, right? And that's what is all the mystery. Why is it happening? And it seems to be, to some degree, this like love, I think, is what I sort of experienced. Was it is kind of about love, like expansion, love. But these things, they sort of self-transform. As he says, the like self-transforming basketball, I think he described it as. And I sort of saw it as this like, I remember this, like this chopping through motion, like these mechanisms sort of come sort of chopping through into this realm via, well, I guess, your experience. But they are something. They're a self-transforming mechanism. And they are, I guess, doing something. Like they have a purpose of some sort. They are driven. They are here we are. Like we've come to see you, to do things, to transform, to like share our self-transforming experience. And then he just threw on the end there. Terence McKenna threw on the elves. Just came in with the elves. He had to say self-transforming machine, elves. That's why it's fucked. I guess they are. They seem to be. You know, how else can you describe? They seem to be these little helper elves. Like, if you really want to get into it, Santa Claus and his elves, and somehow the mystery of Santa Claus gets in there, and he's somehow related to the mushroom. I don't even know about that. That's all a whole other ball game. But I think there's something to that as well. You can Google some pictures of like mushrooms and Santa Claus and how they connect. It's all crazy. But anyway, self-transforming machine elves. even when I first started like saying those words, I think that because they're language, they sort of like have power to them. Anyway, like it's true, I guess, if you look at the politically correct people nowadays, where they're like, language is violence, language has power, and I think that they have like are taking kind of a different approach to that I don't really think is that helpful. But as language, kind of as Terence McKenna was talking about it, comparing it, like naming this thing self-transforming machine elves, in a way it's true. Like, language does have power. Language is like this technology, like it frames things, like it creates things. So it's a hard, like, even topic to talk about because it's so like obscure. It's like it's like out of this world, even, I suppose. But so that would be my sort of breakdown of how I see that. I think that those realms, I guess you could say, that exist like beyond our everyday functioning, our everyday like stop at the stop sign, like pour the glass of water, like unlock your house, like that's our reality from day to day. But what you can experience through these like machine elves, or through this type of experience, is that there are much more, like a vast variety of other paradigms of reality. And I think I wouldn't really say that there's much like room for debate on that topic. From what I could see, like it seemed quite just apparent, like quite blatantly apparent. Like I think it would be hard. I would say it would be difficult for any human being anyway to deny that. If they were just like put in the right setting, we're like, okay, do you want to like experience some of these other realms? Okay, here's this substance, here you go. I would say it would be pretty difficult for any human to come back from that and be like, no, like you're lying, there's nothing else there. Like anyone's going to be like, wow, like clearly there is a much more variety to this than what I could see before. And probably if I got back involved in that kind of thing now, I would in fact have a much stronger relation to those realms, because now I'm so much more of like a centered, grounded, like human on earth. Before, to some degree, I was more like, didn't really know. I was just like, no, like I want to know, like just push the fucking limits, like let me see, like pull the curtains back, right? Like in the Wizard of Oz, like you want to see behind the curtains, like who's back there. So that was more my mentality, was no, I want to see, because I knew that what society was telling me was it was just pollution. It was just distraction and lies. And I was like, come on, I want to know. So you look, but it's like true, like, yo, be careful what you wish for, because the reality is, it's like once you kind of unplug from that everyday reality, you do see that it's like, whoa, what is going on out there? Like, what really is taking place? Luckily, it does seem to be a core value of love, which is good. So it is like the core message is that reality in the universe does seem to be about love and caring and understanding, which is amazing. But that's not to say that certainly not that there aren't challenges. Like can be a very challenging experience to get in touch with these ideas, right? But also, even while experiencing like these other sort of states of consciousness or realms, you do have some ability, I think, to manipulate that reality, and that can almost be like challenging and terrifying even on its own, because you're like, oh my god. Even I've heard Rogan talk about this when he goes into these realms, and he's like, even his thoughts, it's like kind of gross if he has these negative thoughts, and it's like, whoa, everything I'm doing affects things. So it's wild like that. But I would say that that has helped me, overall in, I think, many ways. Like, it's given me a much more broader understanding of the universal sort of way of things. Like it did allow me to say to myself, clearly, there is clearly a greater force at play than simply, my fucking grade 7 fucking teacher who just screamed at me and told me I'm fucking stupid and worthless. Those human beings simply do not have enough authority, right, to make that kind of statement. So I was able to understand, like, oh, like there's much more intelligent forces at play here. And I'll actually just say this quick story here. That was the first time, like as a personal story, like that was the first time in my life, and that was well into my 20s. Like I was well into like probably mid to late 20s before I really had ever experienced this, had really heard this message. That was the first time I was ever told directly by an authoritative figure with fucking immense power that there was absolutely nothing wrong with me, and that different ways that I had like held like pain and grudges and felt so bad about like ways I thought I had been treated and like victim story and this type of stuff. It was the first time I was ever told, like, whoa, man, like these fucking moronic like humans, like these little monkey folks that are in your realm, like they mishandled you. Like they're not that smart. Like they're fucking incompetent in many ways, and they mismanaged you. And I was like, whoa, man. Like, whoa, dude. And in fact, this is coming from like some type of like higher gods, I guess you could say. And I was like, whoa. And the god, like in particular, this like, I guess the highest of the gods, or certainly one of them, who was like, he was like my caseworker. He was like, all right, what the fuck? What do you got going on here? All right, these idiots, they're fucking morons. And he was actually like displeased with them. He was like, why? Like for me in particular, like everyone has a different story. Like everyone has different ways that they feel like wronged. And for me, a lot of it came from my experience in like the school system, where I was always kind of like made to feel like very stupid and very like worthless and like just get out of here, you're just a problem. Like that's a whole other story for another day, the way that the education system is just like fucking people over. It's just like a prison system. That's my opinion. But anyway, this was the first time I had gotten like real authority of like, no. And the gods were not happy about it. This god was like, what the fuck? Like, wait, what the fuck did, it was like, I created this human being. Like, I created you for Earth. And what the fuck did these morons do? What the fuck? And I was like, whoa, man. No one's ever, like, stood up for me like that. Like, really, that it mattered. And, like, that still to this day is, like, super powerful for me. I can still fall back on that. Whereas I had never felt that kind of, like, deep, like, inner reassurance before. And I'm still sometimes will fall back and be like, whoa, like, there's nothing wrong with me. Like, that wasn't, people, like, times that I felt like dismissed and unheard was, those people were more incompetent. Like, they don't know anything. The gods have told me. And it was like, fucking A. And so it really has led me to be able to grasp that in a deep level, and in many ways has really like propelled me to become the person that I want to be without regard for what society was telling me, because I don't believe that society, for the most part, has even the fucking authority or the ability, like, their opinion isn't really valid. Like, mind you, I'm not, like, ignoring if they're like, hey, man, like, you know, like, you fucking smell. I'm like, okay, maybe I fucking smell. Like, maybe I should take a shower. Like, you know, like, on practical terms, I'm still aware that people are human beings. And, like, if someone, like, gives me a recommendation, like, hey, this is a cool movie, I'm like, hey, maybe I'll check it out. I'm not, like, dismissing everything, but I understand at a, like, inherent level, like, no, like, it matters how I think. It matters what I think. I can take maybe your opinion into consideration if I want, but what I think, what's in me, is the same thing that's coming from the gods via, I guess, these self-transforming machine elves. That seems to be like the fabric of reality, the nature of reality. The way, you know, like, the way that, like, a pine cone is, the way that, like, a tree grows, the way that the wind blows leaves. It's all like this universal way of things. Like the Fibonacci sequence, those numbers that, like, describe a lot of things in nature. So, you know, I'm just explaining this because as, like, going forward, like, even with this YouTube thing, like, you know, I'm still learning where I want to go with this and even what I want to do in my life and how I think, like, my brand or my career or my, you know, my lifestyle will go. But I'm really trying to look at all aspects of my experiences and be like, okay, let's own that. What can I use from that? Let's use it all, because at some point I may be into something different. So this is something that I may not get back into in the near future, or maybe I will. You know what I mean? Who knows? Like, it's still something I'm interested in. And I feel like I have an opinion on it, and I have a point of view that is interesting and cool, and I want to share that. And because I meet people all the time that have no idea, they have no clue about things. Like, so I'm like, whoa, I may as well fire this off. Okay, so I guess that's pretty much my video on this topic. I can't think of anything right off the top of my head else, so I'll end it with that. Thanks, everybody, for checking this out. Please feel free to like and subscribe. Okay. Peace out.